I'm Brittany Lewis, a breaking news reporter here at Forbes. Joining me now is Shalom Lipner, Nonresident Senior Fellow at the Atlantic Council. Shalom, thank you so much for joining me.
Good to be with you, Brittany.
We're in a really critical time right now, and I want to talk about it and have your insight. Top leaders of both Hamas and Hezbollah were killed within the last week as tensions continue to rise in the Middle East. And there are concerns of an all-out, wider regional war. So first, can you talk about the moment that we're in right now?
As I was saying, I think we were talking earlier. I think that we can characterize it as some sort of deafening silence right now, with the protagonists, or maybe the world at large, waiting for the other shoes to drop after the killings that we saw last week, and the threats of retaliation from the parties in the region against Israel right now. One can easily imagine, Hezbollah and Iran enjoying this moment right now, where Israelis are sort of running around in this, sense, waiting. When will it happen? When will it happen? The feelings here in Israel, where I'm speaking to you from, are complex right now. The assumption is that, in this period now, until we see that response that has been, has been promised, that the parties are sort of coordinating that response amongst themselves. I mean, we know that in Beirut they're talking with people in Tehran, and the Houthis in Yemen. All these parties together are sort of have indicated that they would want to be involved in this kind of response to what is right now, and there's that conversation going on. What we seems to have evolved is this conventional wisdom right now, where, despite the fact that the parties will be looking to overwhelm Israel's defenses, that they may not, in fact, all attack simultaneously. The feeling is that Hezbollah will sort of mount some kind of attack from the north in the nearer term, and that the Iranians conceivably will wait to see what the fallout from that looks like. How Israel considers responding, what things are actually hit, and then determine their response. Then of course that sets the domino in motion, and then the larger question looming is how will Israel respond to what's there, and that too remains to be seen, depending on what kind of damage those attacks inflict when they actually pass.
I think you bring up two really critical questions that the world is kind of waiting for. When will this response happen, and what will this response look like? Secretary of State Antony Blinken over the weekend reportedly said that Israel could expect a response within the next 24 to 48 hours. As we sit here, it's Thursday morning in the U.S., in New York. We have not seen a response as of now. So when do you think it will happen, and is there any indication of what that will look like?
Well, it's already Thursday afternoon in Jerusalem, so it's all that much further along. Nobody seems to know that. Again, I think that the Iran and their proxies, I think, are reveling in the fact that Israelis and much of their allies are running around saying, "What will this look like? When will it happen?" Nobody really knows. People are watching these indications to see when something might be ramping up, and as you indicated, the Secretary of State and other people, we hear these repeated statements about could be the next 24 hours, could be the next 48 hours. Again, to echo something I said earlier, it seems that the Iranians are biding their time a little more than maybe they are at Hezbollah and Lebanon right now. There is a massive global sort of pressure campaign on Tehran right now to scale down what that response would look like, even including the head of the National Security Council from Moscow, who came in and, by all accounts, scale larger into a larger regional or global war of any sort like that. So that's been taken into consideration. Certainly, it has not gone unnoticed that the U.S. military has scaled its presence in the region, prepared to sort of push back against an attack, and who knows what possibly could happen after that. So I think people are watching that. Again, if Hezbollah does take first, or in the next event that were to happen would be an attack out of Lebanon, then presumably all the parties would be watching to see what that looks like. You asked about what would that look like. The thinking is among most people right now that, based on sort of the lay of the land statements that people have made, that they would be looking to strike military targets, conceivably dual use infrastructures, issues like that, and in all likelihood, to the extent possible, although you can never calculate these things entirely precisely, to stay away from things that are defined as civilian targets. The thinking being, to the extent we can talk about legitimacy, that's certainly more seen as something more legitimate. Also, again, if we're talking about Israeli retaliation, would look like in that event. I mean, it would be a different order of response if civilians were caught in the middle of a fire right now that way.